My entitled stepdaughter is begging me to buy her these expensive designer bags, and I'm not gonna do it. I'm already paying for her college, and her mother spoils her to a ridiculous amount. Well, guys, she didn't like that answer, and she decides to blow up on me. So I take her college fund, and I donate it to kids who actually need it.
Never lose hope is what I've learned through life's endless battles. My name's David, and I'm a widower. I had a beautiful marriage. I loved my wife, but fate had different plans, and she died 3 years back battling a disease. In my 40 years of living, I've never felt as alone as I did after my wife passed. It was difficult for me to concentrate even on mundane tasks. My family and friends think I'm a hopeless romantic, and I still believe that love can really change one's life. I'd built my life from scratch, and I started my contractual construction business at a very young age, and gradually it grew. I had no siblings, so when my parents passed away, I got a decent amount of inheritance and a beautiful house. I moved there with my wife around 8 years ago, and she succumbed to death soon after. Today, I just feel hopeless for the first time in my life, and I don't know what to do to, do injustice to a child. I need your help to really make an ethical decision. Let me tell you my life story from the beginning, though. After my wife passed away, I started going to a support group for all those who got divorced or whose spouse left too early for heaven's abode. Everyone had a different life story and pain to deal with. In that moment of emotional instability, I met Karen. Karen had recently been divorced because, her partner cheated, and she had a daughter with that man. I can never understand how men can be so ignorant. Karen was struggling to raise her teenage daughter, and she too was overcoming an emotional trauma. Karen is a 38-year-old and has a 13-year-old teenage daughter named Emily. She's gorgeous for her age with blue eyes and blonde hair, and I never realized how beautiful she was until one day she asked me to go out for a local coffee spot. It says that misery loves company, and we both shared the same pain, so it was very easy for me to connect with her. We exchanged a lot of childhood stories, how she quit her career to become a mother, and how her husband was unfaithful to her for the longest time. He started to become abusive. Karen had a difficult life, and I respect her for her grace. Me and Karen started dating soon after that coffee date, and I met Emily once or twice, but how much can you really figure out from such short meetings? Karen, on the other hand, always complained that Emily was having a hard time because of the divorce and lashed out frequently. Well, I guess you can't blame a 13-year-old for being immature about her parents' separation. Being with Karen was easy. She made me feel alive and much less lonely. Of course, on occasion, I still missed my wife, but it was good to have someone to share life with. So, after dating for 6 months, I proposed to Karen, and she said yes. We got married in the courthouse because neither of us wanted a big ceremony of people. The next morning after our wedding, when I woke up to the sun, the presence of Karen beside me gave me so much comfort. I finally was happy again. My place was much bigger than Karen's, so we decided to move into my bungalow after the wedding. I was kind of excited to have Emily home. In my past marriage, my wife and I never wanted kids. We were fulfilled by each other, I guess, but after she passed away, it felt like it would have been lovely to have someone around who I could call mine. So, I was excited for Emily as I was for Karen. I wanted to be the best stepfather to her ever, and I never knew I was setting a target too high. Emily was a beautiful young woman, full of potential and dreams. However, her behavior sometimes was just purely unbearable. As slowly as we set our life to a routine, disputes started hovering. I can't help but recall the events that led to the tension between Emily and me. She's an extremely spoiled child, constantly demanding materialistic things and could not even take no for an answer. I tried to provide as much as possible, but some things were just beyond reasonable, and I was always aware that she was just a teenager who was throwing tantrums as a coping mechanism for her parents' separation. I started walking on eggshells around her because she fought with me multiple times in just the past 6 months over me saying no. Well, one day, Emily demanded an expensive designer bag. She was eager to impress her friends and had approached me with such entitlement, thinking I was fulfilling of her wishes. But with a heavy heart, I explained that such a demand is way beyond my financial capability. Emily starts yelling at me, accusing me of hurtful words, and she regarded me as a failure as a father and joked about me being impotent and could not have a kid. Karen was out running errands, so she abused me as much as possible and then just stormed out of the house. Her insults cut deep this time. I felt wounded and deeply disrespected. I'd always done my utmost to support her emotionally and financially, but at that moment my efforts seemed to be going down the drain. I'm not proud of the decision I took therefore, and rather than talking to Karen first, my anger took over me, and I donated all her college funds to unprivileged children. I wanted to teach Emily a lesson that she'll never forget, making it clear that she can never ever talk to me in such a manner again. It was a drastic measure, but I hoped it would bring about a change in her perspective and hopefully appreciate whatever she has in her life. Sometimes we do dark stuff. As the day unfolded, I witnessed the chaos I set in motion. Karen found out about the donation and naturally suspected Emily of just spending the money, so they got into a huge fight. Well, when I came home, I realized what's happened and came clean. The truth. Well, it reached Emily's ears and she set our house on fire. I still remember the shock on her face mixed with anger and confusion. I was ready for anything, but to my surprise, she did not say a word. I knew that this was the silence before the storm, and something was going to explode that would take all of us with it. What I failed to realize were the depths of Emily's attachment to her dreams of higher education. It was not about the money. It was about her plans for the future. I could not sleep properly for days because I'd ruined my stepdaughter's future for, well, monetary satisfaction. Our home vibes were tense and laughter was gone. Emily's resentment towards me had doubled and Karen was torn between her daughters and our marriage. Our once harmonious family was on the verge of collapse. I would wake up terrified, imagining that today would be the day when Emily finally explodes with hidden storms inside and she'll say or act on something very bad. It was getting harder by the day to wait around for the worst. What do you guys think I should do? I have two options in my mind. Number one, I go talk to Karen and ask for help. Number two, I talk directly to Emily and do whatever I can to help her further. Please give me some suggestions. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. Alright, so today's story is that of a drama. I have two updates and things are about to get a little crazy, a little hectic. If you guys are new to the channel, take a second right now. Click that subscribe button right underneath this video. It supports my channel out a lot, and this way you'll never miss an upload. Alright, let's jump into the update. You guys were so helpful. I can't believe how I did not think about this. I have got a lot of comments from people saying I should talk to Karen, and some of them even suggested I should talk to Emily's father. Emily is still sulking and has not reacted. In fact, she's completely stopped talking to me or Karen, and because of that, Karen is really upset. When I donated the money, I did not expect such a tremendous situation would arise, but with a lot of hope, I plan to talk to Karen over a nice dinner and see what can be done for her future. So, I informed Karen to be dressed up and ready as I was taking her to a very fancy dinner after work. I prepared a whole speech about how I can make things better and, oh boy, she was looking so gorgeous. And in no time we reached the restaurant. She seemed a little upset and I totally understand it. Emily is all she's known as family and she was not talking to her own mother or me for days now. I'd ordered some champagne and planned to apologize for the mess that I've made, and, well, I made a toast to our beautiful future. Karen excused herself to use the powder room before ordering, and I don't believe in coincidences. I think everything in our lives is planned and happens for an exact reason. When Karen went to the loo, she forgot her phone right there on the table, and I saw a text from Emily that said, "I hope it's working because I need money soon." Well, I was very confused to see a text from Emily because as far as I knew, she was not talking to either of us, and Karen had been constantly complaining about how hurt she is because of Emily's silent treatment. I realized something. Something was off and kept my mouth shut for the whole evening about it. I need to find out what's going on and why they're lying. So, I snooped through Karen's phone for the first chance I got and found something undeniably unbelievable. All of the drama was just to make me feel guilty and extort money from more luxurious purchases. It took me a moment to realize what had just happened, and Karen fully supported Emily for every tantrum she threw. Their plan was for Emily to be the bad guy and ask for money, and Karen was playing the distorted mother of a teenager. This plan of Emily's entitled behavior left me frustrated and just questioning the very core of my relationship with Karen. It was definitely a bitter pill to swallow, knowing that my stepdaughter had been manipulating into extorting money from me. I mean, she's 14. How could Karen teach something like this to a 14-year-old? My heart was broken before knowing this. I decided to delve deeper into our shared past. I wanted to know the truth about Karen's first marriage with Jack, who was also Emily's father. Their marriage had ended in a very bitter divorce, but I never really asked for the reasoning. It was time to find out the truth. Karen's lack of respect for me had awakened my eyes, and I simply thirsted for revenge. With determination burning within me, I decided to seek answers from the one person who could shed the light on the truth. Jack. But it was difficult for me to get in touch with a guy I knew nothing about, plus I had to be extremely careful to not tip off a Karen. And then one of my friends working with the police helped me track him down. Nervously, I reached out, hoping he would be willing to meet with me. To my surprise, he agreed. Maybe he was just curious about my intentions, so we arranged to meet at a quiet cafe, a place where we could speak openly and without interruption and without a Karen's notice. As I sat across from him, his eyes were filled with curiosity, with a hint of caution. Anyone who sees Jack can see the resemblance between him and Emily. It was a reminder of the bond that they shared, a bond that's been strained by the manipulation of others. I took a deep breath, gathered my thoughts before I spoke. I wanted to talk to you, Jack, because of Emily. I believe her behavior has more to it than meets the eye. Well, if you invited me here, go on. Well, I don't know if this is an appropriate prediction, but I think Karen has been using Emily to extort money from me. I revealed to him, watching his face for any signs of familiarity. His expression shifted. I was expecting something of the sort. Karen had a way of manipulating situations to her advantage, even during our marriage. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach and a wave of anger and betrayal wash over me. How did she do it? How did she involve Emily, Jack? Well, he sighed, leaning back in his chair, and started emptying his heart out to me on the table. Me and Karen were happy in our marriage for a while, and gradually Karen felt she needed more from life. You see, happiness and laughter were soon replaced by complaints and regrets. One day, Karen told me she was pregnant. That was the best days of my life. I was so happy for us and hoped that the baby would change everything. And Karen will get more reasons to be happy again. But once Emily was born, Karen started losing her mind. She hated being a mother, the responsibility, the constant need of a child for a mother, everything. Emily deserved better. I promised to love Karen through everything, so when she became greedy, I did not think for a second and tried everything to make her happy. But when you see the woman you love hate your child, it just breaks your heart. I was done with her behavior, and our marriage was over way before our divorce. I raised Emily single-handedly until she turned 7, and then Karen had a change of heart. She started helping me with Emily, and in no time we started to paint a picture of financial hardship, making it seem like Emily's well-being was at stake if I did not provide her with more funding. She played on my guilt as a father, and I gave in, not realizing the extent of her deception. Don't make the same mistake as me. As Emily was growing, Karen's greed was too. She trained her 11-year-old daughter to demand a better, luxurious car to travel to school. That tantrum opened my eyes, and I figured out the reason for Karen's involvement in Emily's life. I just lived in denial for the next few months, but the reality was hovering right there on my shoulders. The realization that both Karen and Emily had been blackmailing me for their personal gain, while maintaining an extravagant lifestyle. Ooh, that was a bitter pill to swallow. The pieces of the puzzle were soon too big to ignore, and that's when I asked Karen for a divorce. With the newfound clarity that Jack provided, I understand the depth of our toxic life, and the strained relationship between Emily and me was not entirely based on her entitled behavior. It was more of a reflection of the toxic environment created by Karen's manipulations. I was clueless. What should I do? I wanted to teach Karen a very hard lesson for messing with people's emotions and feelings, and I was living with so many hopes for our future. For Emily's future. For moments, it felt like I could become a good father, but she's a pawn to her mother's evil actions, and I wanted out of this marriage, but I had to be very careful. Otherwise, the divorce can be messy. Plus, all of this is happening because of Karen's greed, so in no world will I allow her to take even a single penny from me as alimony. I was stuck, but I know together we can make things happen. Well, now that you know my full story of what I'm going through, help me teach Karen a lesson, and for all the people who think weddings are merely a joke, who does not understand the sanctity of vows? I want her to pay for manipulating me, and most of all, I want to expose her in front of the world, in front of Emily. It's high time she realizes what an evil human her mother is, and does something about it before she ruins her life. Update number 2. I had no idea online communities can be such a motivating group. I've got ample responses from my issue, and each and every one of you have made me think. Your support in this means a lot. So many of you have said I should file for divorce right away without wasting any more time. I agree, but there's one thing that I have to do for myself, and that's to expose Karen. I cannot let her go peacefully, no, not like Jack, because then she'll get more chances to ruin someone's life and play with their feelings. Somebody has to put an end to this, hideousness. I'll be honest with you all, the revelations of Karen's manipulation and plans have left me clueless, questioning the very foundation of our family, and as the truth was slowly but clearly out, I knew that I will not let her actions go unpunished. After I met Jack, days passed and I played the role of a doting husband without fail. Karen did not suspect anything, but I was planning to expose her day and night. This overwhelming feeling got to me, and I had to talk to someone. With the newfound goal burning within me, I reached out to a trusted family friend and lawyer, Mike, seeking his help with my plan and figuring out my legal chances. Mike has been our neighbor and my dad's friend and has seen me since I was young. He's 68 today and has retired from his practice. He's the best person to give me legal advice, plus he will never ever leak any of my personal details, unless we have to. I need someone I could trust 100%. And I narrated all of my story and Karen's back life to Mike before asking what the best possible scenario for divorce would be. Well, the first smart advice Mike gave me was to behave extremely normal at home. There should be no suspicion of my behavior, so I did everything I could to keep them all happy. Behind their back, Mike and I started preparing for the case, gathering evidence of Karen's manipulative trials, the messages, the letters, and any other proof that we could find. It was not an easy task, because Karen did not leave much proof, at least back at my home with my relationship. It was looking difficult. Mike told me if I could not prove that she's been exploiting me financially, then there might be a scenario, where I'll have to split my inheritance and my wealth with her as my spouse. Plus, because she has a child who will obviously go with her, I will be asked to pay for alimony. I was desperate and took a blind shot to ask Jack for help. With zero expectations, I contacted him and said I needed to meet him again. He obliged, and we met at the same spot. I told him I was planning to divorce Karen and put charges on her for financially exploiting me, and I added that Karen had no idea, and so this was my best chance to trap her. If she knew about my plans, she would prepare herself like she did with you. Well, Jack was impressed by my persistence and said yes to helping me. He was worried about Emily, but I explained how it's very crucial that Emily learns about her mother's true intentions before it's far too late. So, Jack gave me everything he had in the name of proof. Screenshots of their argument about providing luxurious cars, some of the expensive purchases receipts, and his divorce paper where he mentioned how Karen was manipulative. He also tried hard to get Emily's custody but failed. Finally, the day arrived when Karen got my divorce notice, and I will never forget the look on her face. She looked like she had seen a ghost, and she was furious with blood-red eyes. She charged towards me, ready to fight the hell out of me. Thank God for timing, because Emily was not home. She was not ready to accept the fact that I've charged her with financial extortion. Not even for once did she mention the word divorce. It was like a word slipped her mind. Her entire focus was on how I can think that she's a gold digger, and I keep on listening to her ramble, then her tears, and finally her curse. I left after saying one simple sentence to her. I'm glad I did this. We stepped into the courtroom a few weeks later for our first hearing, and I was ready to unveil Karen's true nature to everybody, but I was very anxious. My heart was pounding, ready to come out of my chest as the proceedings began. Mike was going to present my case. On the other hand, Karen looked very confident and bothered by the allegations, and the hearing went on for a long time. Both the lawyers did their absolute best. When the judge asked why we filed for divorce, Karen starts sobbing at this point. And, well, I did not fulfill any of the promises I made before our wedding, she said. I argued for every small expense, and she claimed that at times I denied Emily tuition. Well, I wasn't shocked at all by these implications because I expected Karen to react exactly the same way. The judge demanded us to give them more proof, and there was one last hearing where we would rule out the case. So, on the final hearing, we presented all the proof that we got from Jack. Well, Karen's face grew pale. She could see herself losing and being humiliated in front of everybody, and that was my win right then and there. Because all I cared about was for her to realize what she was doing, toying around with people's feelings. Because of Emily's involvement in our case, she was present in the court for the final hearing. Looking at her, I swear I wanted to take my case back. 14 years. She was just 14 years old. What do you even realize at such a young age? She was just acting and doing stuff that her mom taught her, and when you're so young, all you trust and believe is your mother. I felt extremely bad for her to have seen all this, and Jack was upset about it too. Jack requested her custody again, and the judge asked him to go by the official way and wish for the best. The divorce was granted. All the ties between me and Karen were over, and I felt a sense of relief in the fact that my loveless marriage was over, but it did hurt. I never gave myself a chance to feel the magnitude of a failed marriage, especially because my first marriage lasted till death do us part. I never imagined getting a divorce, and here I was divorcing my wife in just a year, and even the child, Emily, was my biggest loss. However, with the divorce being granted, the consequences of her actions were far from over. The court recognized the extent of her manipulation and financial exploitation, and a judgment was passed ordering Karen to pay back every single cent that she extorted from me. It was a major blow in her life, and I believe the credit for my win wholly goes to Mike, who made sure to catch Karen off guard, leaving her with no time to prepare for the case or vanish in her trails. The news spread of Karen and my divorce because of financial extortion, and it spread through the town like wildfire. Some news channels were covering the news with big bold letters that said, "Gold digger caught," right there on the screen. I wanted this, but somewhere it felt morally wrong to have humiliated the woman I once loved. But everybody around me reminded me why I did all this, to save Emily. Karen's world crumbled around her, and the spotlight of the public on her actions exposed the depths of her greed. Friends, family, and even strangers were aware of the truth, and Karen's image was torn apart from her life. While the chaos was surrounding us, Emily remained in the center for everybody. As the mask of a good mother came off, she could finally see the real face behind it, but no matter how hard we all tried, and that included Karen too, Emily did suffer the consequences. She was a victim who did some pretty terrible things, and even as a juvenile, it was punishable. She became collateral damage for Karen, and when all of this was happening, Karen broke down. She truly loved her, I guess, but her dark side took over the motherly all these years. Jack stepped in and filed for legal custody. With each passing day, Emily's hatred for her mother grew. After one of all the things that were illegal and manipulative were done by her, and backed by her great mother, the bond between mom and daughter began to crumble, and Karen not only lost her marriage and a chance of a stable life, but also lost the love and respect of her own child. Now is the end of my life's biggest struggle, and towards the end I made sure Karen was left with nothing but the punishments for her heinous actions over the years. I left her with empty pockets and a guttered reputation. The world had finally been able to see her true nature, and she was left to face the results of her greed and manipulation. As I look back on this journey, I'm feeling so many things at a time. Relief, just to have been saved from the future. Sadness over the loss of Emily, and hope for the future. Mike, me, and Jack tried extremely hard for Emily to be declared innocent, and even the judge understood the intensity of the situation at hand, but she was still punished and did not get the clean slate she needed. At least now she's free from her mother's clutches, though, and has the opportunity to rebuild her life and discover her true worth. After Emily serves her punishment, Jack is her legal guardian as he got custody. And I promised Jack to pay for her college because I messed up with her college funds. That was my mistake. That was only fair. You guys have helped me a lot at times when I needed advice and was lost and did not know what to do. Your comments and motivation was the factor that I was able to come out of this mess alive. As far as Karen's concerned, she's not allowed any visitation without Jack's supervision, and she'll be long gone to serve her sentence. Plus, she has to pay me and Jack back all the money, and both of us will use it on Emily. Thank you for listening to my story.
Alright guys, so I want to hear from you. What do you make of this mother-daughter duo of Karen and Emily? Do you think that the reason Emily is acting like this is because Karen basically let her have everything she ever wanted and desired? Also, do you think OP went too far at the end of the story when he basically left them with nothing? Drop your comments down below. I would like to discuss this one with you guys. I want to welcome you to the channel if you're new. My name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate and animate stories every single day. There's always an interesting story going on, so stop on by tomorrow, see what we're up to. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and remember, It's cool to be kind. See ya.